IEEE is the largest professional organization around the world, averaging around 400,000 members in the last few years. Generally speaking, it is engineers, physicists, mathematicians in the fields of interest of computing, electrical, robotics, and so on. And of course, the SDGs are built on innovation being applied in the field, and much of this innovation requires power and communications. And electrical power and communications are square in the wheelhouse of the members of IEEE and IEEE as an organization. Hence, IEEE has a superb and lasting and strong interest in the goals of WSIS and the goals of the SDGs. The SDGs, the 17 SDGs, are linked in a sense by the primary goal is, in my interpretation, to provide life and dignity to the population around the world, and have equitable, that means having equitable access to resources. So how do we get there? And equitable access to resources, in my mind, is based on having access to reliable, resilient green energy to start with. Because once we have access to energy everywhere, then we can build on that and provide clean water, deal with wastewater, provide clean food, or food in general, and of course provide communications, ICT, services on ICT, which then enables us to provide education and healthcare and so on. So looking at this, we need to work on this energy infrastructure based on local conditions, accessible to everyone in the first place. And I think that is not going to be finished entirely by 2030. I think that is that would be a dream come true, but beyond 2030, we will have to build out this infrastructure into the furthest reaches around the planet. What happens is that this infrastructure is built out to the most populous areas first, and then out to the more rural and the more remote areas. And so to connect the last mile, so to speak, and I don't mean the last mile to the residents, I mean the last residences that are remote will take quite a while. One of the issues, for example, for communications is communications in the north. It will take a while. I think there's a pros and there's a con, or there are pros and cons. The personal relations or personal friendships that are normally struck at these big gatherings, or at least where there is the opportunity to do so, if one is willing to do so, they do not really happen so much in the online world. And somebody was pointing out to me, we should not call it virtual, we should call it online, because it is real. It's not virtual, it's real. Exactly. So, and it's really real. And I think WSIS became real to a lot more people than the face-to-face meetings have been, because people who could not join, often due to financial restrictions, or limitations, I should say, and of course time limitations, could join. So I think the discussion was much broader in a sense that a much larger audience has been reached. So it's a different kind of impact, I would say. And I think it teaches us for the future that we really have to figure out how to take advantage of the best of both worlds. And I think the panels were, you know, wide, highly varied, diverse. I think there were certainly people there that might not have been able to join if it would have been face to face. It's raising of awareness and making connections. Both of those two. Like, of course, it's sharing knowledge. It is trying to engage more people. But the awareness of what is happening around the world, what are the issues, what are the pain points, how we can partner to address them, that can only be done through connecting. We don't talk to each other, we do not gain that awareness and knowledge to act upon. And I think what we're really trying to do with these meetings is getting more people to act. Well, I think the first piece is to really get have everybody have access to electricity. Like, why would we today still have people cook over coal or dung? Right? So we need to take charge of the fact that we have people around the world who live very well, have access to all kinds of resources, and we have others who don't. And we do need to take care of this inequity, making sure that the parts of our planet's population who do not live in with access to these resources have access to electricity and then access to other resources. Of course, it has to be their choice. There may very well be people who choose not to.